Welcome to the one-a-day painting challenge. I'm Yvette, and in today's video we're going to paint this awesome painting. I'm going to paint it live and show you step by step everything I do and talk about all the tips and tricks of how I paint this painting. So I encourage you to paint along with me. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. That way it'll make it easier for you to find the videos in the future. Let's get started by painting the background. I'm going to go ahead with a light blue color, and I'm going to go on the outsides of the edges so I don't forget them, and I'm going to put on a whole bunch of paint. Once I have the edges and I have the paint there, I'm going to go back and forth many times, making a lot of pretty little brush strokes, so that way when the paint dries there will be some areas with a darker blue and some with a lighter blue. I'm also taking my time, focusing and making sure that I don't go into my image, so that way I can have a nice crisp outline. Before I started painting, I went ahead and sketched the image roughly onto my canvas. I have the image in the Facebook group Painting Challenge, and in the description of this video there's a direct link to that group. It's a fun group of a bunch of people who are artists hanging out and sharing their stories and having a good time painting together. I hope you check it out. The image is in the folder Motley Muse Paintings. Go ahead, print it out. It's free. And use the printer, really whatever works best for you. Like if it's easier for you to use a projector or the grid method or sketching or transfer paper, or just have fun and go at it naturally and see where you are. I'd love to see your creation. Everybody always gets stressed out about skin, but don't worry, it's not that hard. All I'm doing is using a really dark color brown on the edges, and then as I go to the middle of the skin, the color gets lighter and lighter and lighter. I'm almost thinking as though it's not skin and that there are two cylinders that I'm working with, and the light is bouncing off in the middle of both areas of the cylinder where the arms are and the hand, and then it just gets darker as the skin goes around the arm. I'm trying to match my skin tone, however, this is impressionism, so as long as I get a good fade, I'll be super happy with that. Just make sure fade, fade, fade. Use a lot of different variations of brown. I have on my palette a dark color plus a light color, and then in the middle of the palette I added some white, so I'm really working with 5 different colors of different shades. I'm going back and forth, and I'm trying to work really fast before my paint dries all the way, so that way it's easier to blend. When it comes to faces, don't worry, don't stress out. It's almost like applying makeup. So we have shadow areas, which are like on the cheeks and the temples, a little bit under the lip, a little bit around the nose, and then we put our highlights, and our highlights would be like the top part of the nose, the forehead, the cheekbone. We're basically just kind of thinking, where is the light going to bounce off of, and how is it going to come around that edge? And I'm also working very fast to make sure that my paint stays wet, because I am using acrylic paint, so I don't have that long like I would with oil paints, but I'm making sure that everything blends. And when I get it the way I like it, I always like to take a moment and dry my painting. That way I can just kind of get it there, and if there's a boo-boo, it's easier to paint over dry paint than it is to just constantly keep adding paint to wet paint. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some white paint all over the dress. I did draw this in using a pencil, so I have some lead in there, and it's kind of tinting the white a little bit, which I think is totally cool. I'm going to add lots of different shading effects. I'm also taking care to make sure my edges are nice and pretty. Let's add the ground by adding dark brown. I'm going and making marks and letting some areas be dark brown and others be light brown. It's all in my brush strokes, and I want to make sure that I have lots and lots of brush strokes. Let's add some wrinkles in the fabric. I'm going ahead with a tiny, skinny, pretty little brush. I'm keeping a nice point on it, and I'm adding black, and I'm just going and outlining all the different little folds, trying to keep in line with what my image has that I pre-sketched out, but then also taking a moment to think, well, where would the fabric drape, and where is the knee, where would the round part of the butt be, and how would that affect the clothes being wrinkly where they're wrinkly. Now it's time to go over with some gray. I'm using the same brush with a nice pretty point, and I'm outlining all of the bottom areas of the black. I'm not applying any of the gray on the top of the black lines. I'm only applying the gray to the very bottom parts of the black. When you're happy with what you got, go ahead and dry it. I always recommend using the low cool setting on your hairdryer. If you use too high of a setting and it's too hot, the paint, especially if you've added it on kind of thick, will start turning a little bubbly, which could be cool in certain aspects such as making snow or something like that. But for this painting, I would recommend not to let the paint go bubbly. So try to use it on a cool low setting. I'm filling in the shoe by adding some gray. We'll go back over it later, but just some gray for now should be fine. Notice that when I paint, I like to be in one little area and work on it, and then I'll move to another area, and I'll go back and forth many times. I like doing that because if I give myself a break in an area, it gives the paint time to dry, plus it gives me some time to think about it and see it from a fresh perspective. With the hair, I'm using the dark brown and I'm just going ahead and filling it all in, almost like a helmet a little bit, just kind of color blocking it. But I'm trying not to make the hair very fantastical. Notice that it's just all in an area. I'm going to add those lines that make the hair really cool and what it is a little bit later after the base starts to dry. Now I'm going in with a lighter color gray. I'm adding some white with the gray, and I'm adding another line very skinny and very precise underneath of the gray line that I made, and I'm going ahead and doing it for every single one of the wrinkles. So that way each wrinkle has a black line, a gray line, plus a really super light gray line. And then I'm also going in every so often, washing my brush and putting some pure white in there so that we have lots of different colors going on. Now with the hair, it's really quite easy. With that dark brown I was using, I'm going ahead and making little strands come down, and I'm taking my time. This hair is very similar to what I have in real life and what I did when I was pregnant. This is a self-portrait that I'm making of what I looked like when I was pregnant many years ago. But anyways, what I'm saying is I'm taking from what I've seen in the mirror and looking at my own hair and taking it from nature, and I'm thinking, where would these little strands of hair be? Notice that I'm still trying to leave space so you can see the skin underneath and part of the strap of the tank top. It's going to take some time. If you're having a lot of stress right now, don't worry. It's okay. It's gonna happen one way or another. Just be diligent. Go ahead and check out my other videos. I have a lot of videos I've done explaining the science of how to paint hair and to make it easier. Go ahead and watch those videos, then come back to this painting and I'm sure you'll get it and it'll be beautiful. Thanks for watching. Push the purple flower to subscribe and you can watch all kinds of awesome videos.